Stop listening to the experts, seriously. They are the single biggest reason you are still struggling to find consistency in these markets. If you spent more than 5 minutes on trading YouTube or scrolling through finance Twitter, you've heard the same golden rule preached like it's gospel. Never take a trade unless it's at least a 1-to-2 or a 1-to-3 risk-to-reward ratio. It's the foundational pillar of almost every trading course on the planet. They tell you that if you just aim for those big, glorious home runs, the math will eventually step in and save you from your own mistakes. They pull up these beautiful, clean spreadsheets and show you how, with a 1-to-3 ratio, you only need to be right 30% of the time to become a millionaire. It sounds like magic. It sounds like a mathematical safety net that protects you from ever having to be perfect. But it's a trap. It sounds perfect and logical because it's designed for a robot. It's designed for a machine that has no pulse, no bills to pay, no ego, and no emotions. But here is the secret the gurus won't tell you. Math works on paper, but it often fails in the human brain. Most of you aren't failing because your strategy is bad or because you can't read a candle chart. You're failing because you're trying to force yourself into a high RRR strategy that is psychologically impossible for a human being to execute over the long term. You're trying to run a marathon while holding your breath, wondering why you keep collapsing at mile 2. Every time you hear someone say 1-to-3 or bust, they are setting you up for a cycle of long losing streaks, destroyed confidence, and the inevitable revenge trading that follows when you can't handle being wrong 70% of the time. They are selling you a mathematical masterpiece that is a psychological nightmare. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain. I'm going to show you why the 1-to-3 RR is actually the fastest way to burn out and lose your capital. More importantly, I'm going to show you why shifting to a boring, unsexy 1-to-1 ratio is actually the ultimate cheat code for the retail trader. This is the shift from being a gambler chasing a jackpot to becoming a professional who understands that in this game, the most patient person in the room always wins. Welcome to the Smart Trader Show. Let's look at the illusion that's keeping you broke. To truly understand why the 1-to-3 trap is so effective, we have to look at the math that makes it so seductive in the first place. On a digital spreadsheet, a 1-to-3 risk-to-reward ratio is a thing of absolute beauty. It is the ultimate mathematical safety net, and it's easy to see why almost every beginner falls in love with it the moment they see the numbers. Let's break it down. Suppose you decide to risk $100 on every single trade to make $300. The numbers tell you a very comforting, almost hypnotic story. If you take 10 trades and you lose 7 of them, you've lost $700. But if you win just 3 times, only 3, at $300 per win, you've made $900. After those 10 trades, despite being wrong 70% of the time, you walk away with a $200 profit. Think about that for a second. You can fail 7 times out of 10. You can be wrong more often than you are right, and the math still pays you. This is the get-out-of-jail-free card that every trading course creator uses to hook you. They tell you that you don't need to be a market genius. You just need to be patient enough to wait for that one big runner that wipes out all your tiny mistakes in a single move. It creates what I call the home run mentality. It makes you feel like a high-stakes sniper. You start telling yourself, it doesn't matter if I lose this trade or the next one, because when I finally hit, I'm going to hit big. It's a strategy designed to remove the pressure of being right. Or at least, that's what the theory promises. It's a strategy built for a machine. Someone who has no heart rate, no ego, and no fear of seeing a red balance for days or weeks at a time. But here's the cold, hard truth. You are not a spreadsheet. You are a human being with a nervous system. And in the real world, the distance between the theory of 1-to-3 and the execution of 1-to-3 is a massive canyon filled with blown accounts and broken spirits. The math is a masterpiece, but the psychological reality of living through it is a nightmare that 99% of retail traders simply cannot survive. Because while the math says you can lose 7 times in a row, it doesn't tell you how it feels to actually watch your hard-earned money vanish 7 times straight while you wait for a win that might not come for another week. Let me show you the psychological reality of what actually happens when you try to live through those 7 losses. Now let's talk about what happens when the spreadsheet meets the soul. In the world of 1 to 3 risk to reward, your life is defined by losing. If you are winning 30% of the time, that means 70% of your days are spent in the red. On paper, that's just the cost of doing business. In your living room, staring at your monitor at 2 a.m., it feels like a slow-motion car crash. Think about the physical toll of a 7-trade losing streak. After the 3rd loss, you start to doubt your edge. After the 5th loss, you start to doubt your intelligence. By the 7th loss, you aren't even a trader anymore. You're a victim. This is where the action bias kicks in. Your brain screams at you to do something to stop the pain. You start looking for perfect setups that don't exist. Or worse, you start revenge trading with higher lots to make back what the market stole from you. The 1 to 3 ratio forces you to be a world-class loser, but humans are biologically wired to want to win. We need that dopamine hit of being right to stay motivated. When you go days or weeks without a win, your discipline doesn't just bend, it snaps. But there's a second, even more dangerous psychological trap with the 1 to 3 strategy, the fear of the finish line. Imagine you've finally broken your losing streak. You're in a trade and it's moving in your favor. You're at a 1-to-1 profit. Your brain remembers the last 7 losses. It starts whispering, close it now, secure the win. Don't let this turn into another loss. So you close the trade at 1-to-1. You feel a brief moment of relief. But then you realize you just destroyed your own math. You took a 1-to-1 profit on a strategy that requires 1 to 3 wins to stay profitable. By trying to protect your feelings, you've guaranteed your bankruptcy. This is the psychological reality of the high RR trap. It asks you to be a robot in a world designed to make you feel like a failure. It's not just about the money you lose, it's about the confidence you incinerate. In the next chapter, I'm going to show you how to stop fighting your biology and start using it to your advantage with the 1-to-1 cheat code. Now let's talk about the boring secret that the high-frequency, high-ego traders don't want you to know. If the 1 to 3 ratio is a lottery ticket, the 1-to-1 ratio is a steady paycheck. It isn't flashy, and it isn't going to make you go viral on social media with a 1,000% gain screenshot. But it is exactly what you need to actually survive this game. When you shift your strategy to a 1-to-1 risk to reward, the entire landscape of your trading day changes. You risk $100 to make $100. On paper, the gurus will tell you that you're wasting your time because you have to be right more than 50% of the time just to break even. But here is the reality they ignore. In high probability setups, being right 60% or 70% of the time is not just possible. It is significantly easier than catching that 1 in 10 runner. The real power of the 1-to-1 ratio isn't just in the math. It's in the psychological momentum. Remember the brain battery we talked about earlier? When you win 6 or 7 times out of 10, you are constantly recharging that battery. You are getting frequent, positive reinforcement. You start to trust your eyes again. You start to trust your execution. Instead of feeling like a victim of the market, constantly waiting for a miracle, you start to feel like a professional operator. You're no longer hoping, you're executing. When you know that you only need the market to move a small, realistic distance to hit your target, your stress levels plummet. You aren't sitting there sweating, staring at the screen for 3 hours, praying that the price holds onto its gains to reach some distant, imaginary 1 to 3 target. You get in, the market moves to a logical level, and you get out. It's clean, it's fast, and it's repeatable. This is the consistency cheat code. It turns trading from a high-stakes emotional gamble into a repetitive, almost boring process. And as we always say here on the Smart Trader Show, if your trading is exciting, you're probably doing it wrong. Boring trading is profitable trading. By choosing 1-to-1, you aren't settling for less. You are choosing to protect your mental capital so you can stay in the game long enough for the real wealth to compound. You're building the habit of winning, and in this industry, the habit of winning is worth infinitely more than any single home run. Let's look at 2 different traders over a 30-day period. On one side, you have the home run hitter. This is the guy aiming for 1 to 3 on every single setup. He spends his weeks in a state of constant frustration. He takes 5 losses in a row, finally hits a win, then takes another 3 losses. His equity curve looks like a jagged mountain range. Even if he ends the month in a small profit, he is mentally exhausted. He spent 30 days fighting his own doubt, and because his win rate is so low, he's terrified to increase his position size. He's stuck trading small because he knows a bad week could wipe him out. On the other side, you have the smart trader. This trader isn't trying to be a hero. They are hitting consistent singles with a 1-to-1 ratio. Their equity curve isn't a mountain range. It's a steady, boring staircase. Because they are winning 60 or 70% of the time, their confidence is high. And here is the real secret to wealth. Confidence allows for scale. When you trust your strategy and you aren't afraid of a 10-trade losing streak, you can gradually increase your risk per trade. Making 1% on a 1-to-1 trade consistently is infinitely more valuable than hoping for a 3% win once a week. Why? Because you can eventually trade $1 million account with a 1-to-1 strategy. You can't trade $1 million account if you're emotionally compromised by constant losses. The home run hitter is looking for a jackpot to change their life. The smart trader is building a system that scales. One is gambling, the other is running a business. While the rest of the world is chasing the big one, we are busy stacking small wins that compound into a life-changing reality. Look, at the end of the day, the market doesn't care about your ego. It doesn't care if you look cool on social media with a massive percentage gain, and it certainly doesn't care about your spreadsheet. The only thing the market respects is discipline. Stop trying to be a hero. Stop trying to catch the bottom and ride it to the moon. Trading isn't a movie, and you aren't a cowboy. If you want excitement, go to a casino. If you want to build a life of freedom, you have to be willing to be the most boring person in the room. Making the shift from 1 to 3 to 1-to-1 isn't just a change in your stop loss and take profit levels. It's a change in your identity. It's an admission that you value consistency over action. It's a decision to stop gambling and start operating like a professional. My challenge to you is simple. For the next 20 trades, stop chasing the home runs. Focus on high probability setups. Aim for a clean 1-to-1 and watch what happens to your stress levels. Watch what happens to your execution. You might find that for the first time in your career, you aren't fighting the market. You're finally moving with it. Remember, in this game, the person who can stay calm while everyone else is panicking is the one who gets paid. The most patient person in the room always wins. If you're ready to stop working the markets and start hunting them like a predator, hit that subscribe button and join the club. We're building a community of traders who understand that less is more. This has been the Smart Trader Show. Trade less, live more. I'll see you in the next one.